All right, so we've got her back in the house now. All washed up. Washed up is probably the right word to use. But anyway, so this thing is ready for some disassembly. I'm just not so sure I am. Anyway, what I got to do is we're going to pull the motor, we're going to pull the handle, we're going to strip it down. We've got most of the parts I'm going to need already on order. You know, I'm going to just answer this question right here and now. Is it worth it? Is it worth taking a 30-year-old lawnmower and restoring it? Well, no, it is not worth it. It is a colossal waste of money. Let me tell you how I know. So, yes, you can get parts for these. Not everything is available. There are a lot of There are a lot of no longer available parts for these things. We'll go over that list at some point. Fortunately, this was a complete and running machine when I started. Again, first pull. First pull, Freddy. No, seriously, it's a good running machine as it is. But I want to take it up a notch. Bam. Like Emerald. And so we determined that we need a drive clutch cable. It's called a traction drive cable. That's what the service manual calls it. We need that. That's on order. We've already ordered a set of these handle bolts. So there's one on each side. I've ordered both. This is an adjustable handle. That's why there's more than one hole there. So I've got those on order currently. I don't know when they'll arrive, but those are ordered. We've got some carburetor parts. I didn't get a carburetor kit. I got just the common gaskets and seals. We've got a bowl seal. We've got an intake seal. There's two of those. And then there's a seal for the airbox. We've got that on order. Got a new oil fill tube or dipstick tube on order. We've got a dipstick tube O-ring on order because that is definitely leaking. But some of the parts are NOA, no longer available. And one of those parts just happens to be the valve cover gasket. Can't get those anymore. You can't get a muffler. You can't get a muffler shroud. Got a new air filter on order. Probably don't need to replace it, but I'm going to because I can still get them. New spark plug. Of course, we got a new blade. I've got a new belt, drive belt. We're not going to put the old one back on. We've got the blade, belt, the blade clutch cover, which is cracked. I've got one of those on order. And a lot of these parts, I'm looking at the inventory levels of the places I'm ordering them from, and it's like one left, one in stock. Some of these parts, we're buying one of one available parts. So I'm sorry if you're trying to fix yours up and you see this video and you're like, shit, he bought all the parts. Well, yeah, that's how the world works, my friend. But I want to pull the motor off, and we're gonna strip the deck down and repaint it. I've already got an idea as to how I'm going to do that. I've already ordered some decals. We've got the Danger decal on order. We've got the place foot here on order. I can't get the 1980s OPEI decal, but I'm going to try to mask that off and preserve it. Same with this one here. I'm going to mask that off. We're not going to do a chemical strip. What we're going to do is we're going to take a wire wheel to this thing and try to get all the loose paint off. And then I'm going to put some Bulldog primer. It's basically allows paint to stick to anything. And we're going to prime the whole deck, mask off what we can't save, and we're going to respray it red. I'm going to use some Rust-Oleum red. Try to find a good match for this. I think Rust-Oleum Farm and Machine Toolbox Red is a good match for this. We'll go for that, and then we're going to put a clear coat on it. The clear coat that I'm going to use, I'll just show you the product, but it's not the same. I've got a couple different versions of this. This is a 2K clear matte by Spray Max. We're going to go with clear gloss. So it's a different, same product, but different finish. This is expensive stuff. It's about $25 a can. As for the handle, I've got some ideas. I'll share that with you guys later. The cats are really curious as to what this thing is. We've got to repaint the engine or the flywheel shroud. We've got to pull the Toro badge off. I can get a new Toro badge. They are still available, believe it or not. I'd like to put a Suzuki badge on there too. So let's get on with it. Let's get this thing up on a... I got to get the handle off. And then we'll go ahead and put it on one of my rolly carts so we can further tear things apart. All right, so got the wheels off, got the handle off, got all the bolts and bits and pieces sorted by type and location. You know, a lot of people bitch and moan about why they don't build, myself included, mind you, that they don't build anything like they used to. That they don't. If I went over to my local lawn and garden, actually no, I'd probably get a machine like this from a major power equipment reseller, but to go out and buy something like this today would be, well, impossible, because even the most expensive models aren't built this well. Maybe an X-Mark. I think X-Mark, which I might even be part of Toro, but X-Mark builds their machines very well. They're for landscaping professionals and they charge accordingly. But a machine like this was basically your yuppie grade homeowner lawnmower. That's what this was. This was not quite a professional machine, but could easily be used as one. But this was my mower is better than your mower level of quality. You know, this was suburbanite envy. This is what this thing is. Like, look at how much I spent on a lawnmower, you know. This was an expensive machine in its day. This was not a cheapie. This is not a Walmart machine. Point taken. But even the professional machines aren't built this well anymore. And do you know why? Here's why. This machine is 30 years old. 34 years old. And if I pull this handle right now, it will start. This machine has had very little maintenance. The more I take apart, the more I realize how neglected this thing really was. And it was neglected. But it's still salvageable. 34 years later. This is a machine the last time this thing mowed a lawn was about 2 weeks ago. That's how, this did not sit behind a shed for 10 years. This was in active use. And as of about 2 weeks ago. And it is still a viable machine. And you wonder, why don't they build anything like they used to? This is why. The woman who bought this machine 34 years ago has not had to buy a lawnmower in 34 years. And it's on for round 2. Without any major internal repairs, without any bearing replacements, without anything like that. Another thing. Look at this. This is a Zerk fitting. There's one on each side. These axles can be greased with a grease gun on a consumer machine. This is a consumer. Again, this is your BMW drive-in yuppie lawnmower, but it has Zerk fittings on the freaking axles in the rear. The fronts have to be greased by hand, but still, they're greasable. Look at how thick the steel is on this. Look at the quality. It's insane. And 1988 wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was a while, but it's not a million years ago. But in terms of consumer quality or consumer product quality, it's an eternity ago. Oh, there's my freaking 14 millimeter wrench. I was looking for that. We got to take these off. Then I'm going to work on taking the drive gear or the gearbox out. Look at this. Cast aluminum. Today, if you go out and buy a machine today, it's going to have a fiber reinforced plastic casing around that gearbox. I'm telling you, the stuff made today isn't made to last, and this is why. Toro hasn't sold this personal lawnmower in 34 years. And now you know. That's why they don't make things the way they used to. You can still get a quality machine. You know, you can still get a quality machine, but it's going to cost you. And most people aren't willing to pay that. Because they can go to Home Depot, pick up a machine for a couple $100, and get 5 years out of it. Don't even change the oil. Just run it till it drops. And do it again every 5 years. And that's where we're at as a society. We are a throwaway society. This is not a throwaway machine. This is a machine that can be repaired, is meant to be serviced, and it's meant to last the test of time, and it has done so. In fact, if we were to throw this thing in the dump tomorrow, it would be okay because it's done its job. It's lived its life. But it's not ready to give up. This thing has way more life left in it than the manufacturer ever intended it to. They built it too well, and it just runs. It wants to run. This thing wants to run again. And that's why we're tearing it down. We're going to give it what it wants. And we're going to, but unfortunately, it is so old that there are some parts we're going to have to make ourselves. I'm going to change out the valve cover gasket, but I'm going to have to make one. That's why they sell rolled cork gasket material. In fact, I think I've got some in here. I've got the vegetable fiber type, and I know I had some leftover cork from another project, but I'm going to have to go out and buy more because it's gone. Maybe I threw it out because I didn't think I'd ever use it again. But it was in this cabinet. No, it's not. Oh well, life goes on. Telling you, but again, is it financially wise to do what we're doing? Absolutely not. All right, the amount of money I've already put into this machine, and I haven't even torn it down yet. I just know I have a good idea as to what I'm going to be replacing, and I already went out and bought most of those parts. But and I might have to buy more parts as we dig deeper into it. But the amount of money I put into it so far, I'm going to guesstimate at around $250. Actually, that's not too bad if that's all it is. But like this dipstick tube, we're replacing that because it looks really gross. The dipstick itself, we don't really have to replace, but I'm going to try to find a new one. It doesn't look like it seals very well. That's why I think a lot of the oil that we're seeing is actually coming from this dipstick tube. This is supposed to slide on like this, turn it, and it locks, but the locking fingers are missing. If anybody's got one of these and you're watching this video, let me know, because I'd be willing to pay you for it. I've got a brand new dipstick tube on order, but the dipstick itself is hard to get. Now this is the original dipstick. It's made of plastic. The dipstick itself, the revised part is metal. I'll take either one as long as it locks in. Now that we can see a little bit more stuff here, we're going to be able to kind of see maybe where some of that oil is coming from. And I'm already thinking, you see how it's all on the outside of here? That could possibly be from the breather tube. It may be cracked. We'll put a new one on. We're also going to put obviously we're going to do new fuel lines. These are junk. There's really nothing left of them now. But you get the idea. I mean, yeah, I'm going to have to pinch this line off. We'll take the fuel tank off of there, and I'll drain it into my fuel can. But I'm not going to have to tear this motor apart because there's no reason to. I mean, I might replace a few external gaskets. I was going to do a base gasket, but that part is also discontinued, and I don't want to make one of those, so I'm not going to worry about it. I can still get a brand new head gasket for it, but I don't think that's necessary. But yeah, that oil got everywhere. Being an air-cooled engine, if there's a leak somewhere, the air from the from the flywheel. It gets everywhere. By the way, this is our drain plug. I just found that. So that's your drain plug, or you can tilt the machine on its side, and that's what I did. I drained it from the dipstick tube. Gosh, what a beast. All right, so we got the gearbox out. We got the blade off. Now let's take a look at that blade for a minute. This is more than likely original. I don't think this blade's ever been off before. This thing is so dull. But the blade is actually starting to rot. It's in rough shape. This is, I mean, this could be saved. I could actually clean this up, put a nice edge on it. No, we're buying a new blade. I already bought a blade. There's a spacer. You can see a lot of dissimilar metal corrosion. I'm at a point now where I might have a problem. These bolts here are frozen solid, and I don't think penetrating oil is going to help me. And neither is heat. Heat's just going to set the thing on fire. So I don't know what I'm going to do at this stage. It's a weird looking bug. Now this, we'll just dunk this in a can of Evapo-Rust. Give it a good coat of paint. Gearbox is leaking from every orifice. But you know what? It still works. We're going to clean this up. I'm going to replace the oil. It has an oil pan on it. Look at it. It's got an oil pan. Look at that. Steel oil pan on this stupid thing. Anyway. Let's take a look at the fuel lines here. I got this thing upside down, and I can now see what's going on over in this region. Look at the fuel line. It's about ready to give way. And there's fuel coming out the bowl. I got it upside down. What oil? Yeah. Carburetor bowl gasket is swollen pretty badly, but it's not leaking, knock on wood. But we got a new one on order. Now here's the thing. These bolts are gonna break. I know they are. I'm not sure if there's anything I can do about it, other than just let it happen. And when it happens, well, we'll proceed as necessary. I'm upgrading my ratchet to a 1/2 inch. Give me a little bit more torque. And just go to town. Well, one of them broke, the other one didn't. So we're going to have to figure something out. But take a look. There's a lot of larvae in here. Looks like larvae. Could be seeds. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. Either way, it's got to come out. The motor, to pull the motor out, which is my plan, I've got to take this nut off. I'm going to need an impact gun for that. I'm probably going to have to change this blade clutch bearing. Shit, man. We'll put a new... Oh, I didn't realize there was a belt blade. We'll have to put that, get a new one of those too. I don't know what I'm going to do for this other than maybe drill it out very, very carefully. Get a tap and die and just put another bolt in there. There really is no other option. I saw this coming. But let's get all this stuff out of the... I actually have an electric impact that I can use for this. Yeah, that's disgusting. I don't even want that in the house. I'm going to throw it outside. Whatever it is. Looks like larva. Don't know what for, but I don't want it living in my home. I'm in the basement, so yeah, not cool. There's the washer. So we have a whole new shroud on order. This is all going to come apart. This belt, it's a 30 years, man. 30-year-old belt, still belts. I think I'm going to stop for tonight. Everything here on this bench needs to be individually cleaned, painted. This needs to be resealed. Good gearbox, though. Got to drill this out. I have a reverse drill bit, but it's, trust me, dissimilar metals. It's not going to help. I'd like to get the blade clutch actuator out of position. So how this works, in case you're wondering, because I'm actually kind of wondering myself, when you pull on this linkage, it takes the brake off. So this part right here may be a replaceable part, because the brake is gone. There's nothing left to it, really. Anyway, so when that's released, what it does is it pulls this this belt right here. It's kind of like, it works a little bit like a CVT transmission, as a matter of fact. So when it's disengaged, this plate right here is spinning. So this spins with the crankshaft, but this freewheels. So when it's disengaged, this brake keeps this from letting loose from just general friction over time. And this plate is spinning with the engine. When you engage the blade clutch, it pulls this belt taut, which allows it to basically, it wedges its way between these two components, which causes the belt to want to spin, which is why there's an idler pulley here. And the other side, so one side of the belt is capturing the momentum from the engine, and the other side, when it's tight, is transferring that energy to this piece here, which locks it up as one unit. And it's kind of a unique concept, a little bit different. You don't usually see that on everything these days. But anyway, so this bearing right here is a wearable item. In fact, I'm going to see, I'm going to just put my phone down here, and we're going to unlock this clutch. We're going to release the brake without engaging the belt. Easier said than done. And we're going to see what kind of condition that bearing is in. I'll just put my pliers. I gotta give myself some leverage here. So let's do that. There we go. The bearing is fine. Yeah, it should be fine. But it doesn't matter. We've got to take it all apart anyway. And that's going to be the hard part, because everything under here is going to be frozen solid, which sucks, but such is life. But step one is we got to get this apart so I can get that belt off. We're going to definitely change that belt. It would be stupid not to. I mean, when you're in it this far, you might as well just go all the way. I'm going to say that a lot during this project, but yeah. All right, I got this. This looks like a Harbor Freight class impact, because that's exactly what it is. But I got it at the auto parts store, so that's somehow better than Harbor Freight. But anyway, we're going to see if we can get that blade assembly off once and for all. Here we go. Reverse. It is a 24 millimeter socket. Make sure I get it right. Okay. Here we go. Did the job. That's all I can ask for. All right, put that in the pile. And now we can take this unit apart. Take it off, hopefully. Oh, sure. Nice. So this is all in pretty good shape. You know it works. Okay, now we got the belt and the rest of the. Got all that loosened up from the top side. Let's take a look at this pulley. It's got some kind of a lock. Where are you? It's got some kind of a Loctite on it, on the bolt. And to remove the belt, you've got to remove the pulley. And I bet you this is an assembly that they sell. I'm going to look this up. I bet I can get one of those. Now I got to take this swash plate thing off, which looks like it's going to require a puller. Or not. Hey. Okay. All this work is required, by the way, to change the drive belt, just so you know. So this is actually your counterweight. This is, so when these engines, the flywheel doesn't weigh anything. So this acts as a balancer, or a flywheel. Actually acts as a flywheel. This is a very heavy component, heavy steel. All right, so now we can get this engine out. Looking for oil leaks at the bottom. I mean, this is actually, it looks like belt debris. I did buy the O-ring for this. So we'll change that while the engine's out. And got to take the belt guide off. I cannot believe how much work is required to change these belts. If that's all we were doing, this is, well, we wouldn't have to take the engine off, but we'd be digging pretty deep inside. Now, once the engine's off, I can now much easier. I can strip the paint off. We'll tap this out. I'm gonna have to get a tap and die set. Not a big deal. It's not a very load-bearing bolt. If I wanted to be lazy, I could just drill it right out all the way through and just put a nut on the other end, but I'm not gonna do that. That's the low-class way to do it. Let's see if we can find a definitive casting date on this. No, really not. Surprisingly, there isn't one, but we're almost there, guys. I think I found the problem. See, no, he got it apart. Engine's off. Took the fuel tank off, by the way. No need to have that on there. And yeah, so how much you want to bet this thing starts? No, it would start. Although the carburetor is probably flooded right now, so I wouldn't even try. But no, we got it down to where we need it. You know, I can easierly work on things now that everything's apart. We're gonna get some aircraft stripper. I'll take all the paint. Look at this. All the paint is rusting underneath, corroding actually. We'll just strip the shit out of it and get all that paint off and get some kind of a primer on there. It's just a lot of disassembly. Now you might be, once again, asking yourself, is this worth it? No! Under no circumstances is any of this worth what I'm... This mower has a street value of about $100 running. No, it's not worth it. Yeah, that is the oil drain right there for sure. But it looks like it's equipped for electric start. It's got teeth on the flywheel. That's interesting. But yeah, we definitely got to get this carburetor off. We got to get that torn apart, get new seals, clean it out. This thing has had no service in probably 30 years. So still some fuel in there too. But yeah, it's kind of like that. This is a Suzuki 4-cycle lawnmower engine. They're very rare outside of the Toro, I think. I don't think anybody else used these. And they only used them for a couple of years. So this isn't like they used it on every mower they sold. That's where the starter would go. You can see there's a bump out for it. So if you had the electric start option, this is where it would be. The battery would go in the handle, I think, and you would have a key switch. But this is the poverty spec model. Actually, no, this is a pretty nice machine. It just doesn't have the frills like the electric start option. But it's a nice little motor, 34 years of age, still runs like a top. Can't really say that about a lot of these older engines. I mean, they require a lot of maintenance to keep them going, and this one just doesn't want to die. So there's the deck. Gearbox, we want to definitely take this apart. I'm actually kind of curious as to what it looks like inside, so let's It's leaking anyway. I've already got to make a gasket for it. So let's have a look inside and see what we got. Let's take a look. I haven't opened this up. So it's just packed with grease. So there's no oil in here. Okay. Good to know. We'll have to flush out this grease and pack it with new. That looks easy enough. It's pretty cool. Just a simple 3-speed transmission. I don't think there's any gaskets here at all. So what we'll do is we'll put some forma gasket in there, and we'll just do... Oh, some water got in there from when I washed it. That's custom. Okay, good to know. But that's just grease. No gasket. We'll have to do something about that. Still greasy. But you see, there's water's been getting in there for years. Look at that. There's water at the bottom of the pan. So we'll have to do our best to clean that up. This is not part of the mower. This is what they were using for a handle bolt, I think. I don't know what this goes to. I'm going to hang on to it just in case it goes to something. Put that aside. But you can see I can lift the whole transmission out of here without doing anything. We're just going to let this air dry, I think. And yeah, it's pretty cool. They just don't make shit like they used to. I'll have to find out what kind of grease to put in here. I'm sure it's nothing special, but just to be sure. But yeah, I was expecting an oil pan, not a grease pan. I'll have to put this on top so the cats don't get at it. But I am going to put some sealant on that when I put it back together. It just makes sense to do that. And we'll pack it real nice, full of grease. Let's put these bolts back where they came from. And yeah. So now's the moment of truth. Where are the leaks? So the thing is, I won't really know where they all are until after the thing runs. Unless until after a few mowings, I think. So one thing I did not do was wash the underside of the engine. So again, I see what looks like oil that had dripped down and around, but I don't see any actual leaks from down here. I mean, there's a little bit of buildup around the crankshaft seal. It's entirely possible that seal might not hurt to change. There's some seepage here, very minor. But, I mean, I guess if we're this far into it, it wouldn't hurt to change that gasket. I should be able to change that thing without tearing the motor apart. Because I cannot get the base gasket, nor do I want to make one. But if I can dig this seal out, you know, that might be worth my time. I should be able to write down, there should be markings on that seal that I can just can use to order a new one. It's probably just a standard, you know, they should be marked with their inner and outer diameter. And what we'll do is we'll have to clean up the crankshaft a little bit. Made in Japan. See, that's why it's lasted this long. We have this right here, so we'll probably just go ahead and just pop that sucker right out and just put in a new one. They're not hard to do, and you can just put them in without tearing the world apart, like I said. Unless it's marked or not marked with the size. It just says made in Japan. Well, you know, yeah, made in Japan. See, see, the thing is, funny part is, over in here somewhere, Where did I put it? Here it is. When was this album produced? 1983. Anyway, the first song was talking about the quality of his Japanese toys that he had when he was a kid. Anyway, but yeah, made in Japan. See, that's the key, you know. I'd hate to rip this out, though, and find out that I can't get that gasket anymore for some stupid reason. And getting this pulley off is gonna be a bitch. So maybe we leave it the fuck alone. What do you think? Maybe we just leave it alone. It is seeping, though. I mean, it looks to be. Yeah, I think it's seeping a little bit. So we should probably change it while we have this thing apart. I'm not taking this thing apart again. But most of our leakage, though, is coming up from the top part of the motor. And by the way, this is a pressure oil. This is an oil pump right here, I believe. Yeah, there's an oil pump under this gasket, or this plate. And so it does have a pressure feed oil system, which is probably why it's lasted so damn long. But I don't see any exhaust leaks, no tracker marks or nothing around that gasket. It's got a Champion plug in it. It should be an NGK. That plug has been replaced. This would have shipped with an NGK plug, so it's been changed at least once or twice. Probably just once. I did ask Amelia's mom when she had it serviced, like when it was the last oil change. She couldn't tell me. She just puts gas in it and mows the lawn. But from what I'm seeing, this thing was just a few, maybe 2 or 3 seasons away from an oil leak or a fuel leak, which would have made a mess. I mean, the blade is, just look at the blade. It's junk. Total junk. I mean, it's not cracked or anything, but it's got so much scaly rust on it that it just tells you kind of how long it's been. Look at how it's worn. You know, it's been a while. It's been a long while since it was last sharpened. And even the wingtips are starting to wear down. But can't do this with a current machine. Hell no. You'll never make it this far with a current mower. But this thing is, like I said, it's got another life left in it. Another lifespan, another lifetime. And we're gonna suck every mile we can out of this little motor. Look at the quality, though. Where is that oil from? So the crankcase vent is right here. That's the tube. Oh, there's oil just... Oh my. Yeah. That's probably where that oil's coming from. If I pull this off... Yeah, this is loose. There's oil in there. Jesus Christ. So... I'm going to have to figure out where that goes. Yeah, I think that's where our oil is coming from for sure. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the deck first. We're going to go over the whole deck, get it sorted, get the wheels back on, get it ready to receive the engine. And then we're going to probably start tearing the motor apart, do a better job cleaning it up and everything like that. I might try to source a new seal. I think I can still get that. We're going to do it. You know, we're already here. Let's just change out that seal. I know it's leaking. At least we can do that. We'll figure out what we're going to do about the crankcase vent, because we know it leaks. We know it leaks. But I'm not quite ready to tear this apart. I got enough shit on my bench right now. So we'll kind of get through this stuff first, and then we'll dig into the motor. I've got to figure out... I don't know what this connects to. And I don't want to break anything. I think I have to go under the cover here. Probably links in somewhere in there. If it's anything like a Briggs, which it's not, but if it was, I know exactly what to do. But that oil is Yeah, see, I think a lot of this oil is probably from that system. So we'll have to pull the air box and we'll have to clean that out. Start off with a clean air box. Does the hose go across the engine? No, it doesn't. It connects somewhere underneath. I want to pull this. Hold on. You know what? We'll do that in the next video. We'll pull the shroud off and we'll get a better look at it. I mean, there's oil even here. What happened, man? Who hurt you, and why? That connects somewhere. There's got to be something. I'll have to maybe look at a parts diagram before I pull this apart and see where it goes. But damn, son, that's a lot of oil. Then again, let's be smart about this. Look at how much oil is up here. You know, it makes you wonder, was it run with the dipstick off? Or, you know, I mean, or was this there's another idea. It could be just from somebody overfilling it, because seriously though, look at all this fluff. That's the technical term for oil and grease and dirt. It's fluff, and it's actually flammable. So, but look at it all. Is this just from being overfilled, or did somebody pour oil on it? I kind of wonder. We'll get her sorted. I am not worried, although deep down inside I think I might be. What have I done? I've already put money into this thing, so I better not find any more problems. That broken bolt is enough to make me mad, but it's not enough to end the project. We can fix that. We'll just drill it out. We've got some nice shiny new sharp drill bits. We'll drill a center hole through, and we'll get a nice to figure out what the depth is. It's not that big a deal, and then we can just retap it. I have some reverse drill bits. We'll try those first. Maybe I'll heat it up a little bit, and we'll try that as a first. Let's just get that out of the way, and if that doesn't work, then we'll just we'll drill it out further, and we'll get her done. Okay, this is exciting. I'm excited. I'm trying to be. Good engine. You better not let me down. Anyway, I want to see what the condition of these bearings is in. And I gotta say, this one is perfectly fine. There's no notchiness to it. It spins freely. This bearing only does real work when the engine is idling, when the blade is disengaged. Once the blade is engaged, this bearing just kind of sits there. And it's in perfect condition, so I'm not going to change it. And it's easy enough to replace this one after the fact. Now, I am gonna order one of these. So this assembly actually just comes with the plate, the brake pad, and the pivot. That's it. Everything else is sold separately. So we're going to take this pulley off, and we're going to check its bearing. Now this one might be a little bit rough, because this bearing actually works. Like, it does actual work. Oh, and by the way, this whole machine is a mixture of both SAE and metric fasteners. It's kind of an eclectic mix. Anything on the engine is metric. Anything on the chassis is SAE. So, it should be a certainly 7/16, or I'd say that's about a 7/16. And by the way, no two fasteners are alike. This thing is built like a MacBook. There's 100 different fastener types. Oh wait, no, it's bigger than that. 9/16. Bingo. So yeah, it's just a freaking shit show. Just a mix of whatever. whatever they had lying around, it looks like. Looks like they raided an Ace Hardware to build this thing. But whatever they did, it worked, because 30 years down the road. But I emphasize, under no circumstances should the average person do what I'm doing, because I'm not saying that I'm above average, but when it comes to stupidity, I'm worse than Tyler Hoover. Oh, shit. That thing's... Here, we'll put it in the vise. I got to get that belt off. I am replacing that belt. So we're going to do that anyway. It would be the smartest way to put this in here. Well, I know what the dumbest way is, but what's the smartest? Well, you know what? We're going to put it in like this. No, I don't want to... you know what? If that... Ah, here we go. No, I don't want to damage... And just in case I don't replace that device. I don't know. Let's ask Siri. Yeah. I think the best thing to do would be to put it in like this, but don't clamp it down too hard, because that could damage what's left of that brake pad, just in case we can't get this for any reason. So let's put it in like yay, and we'll can you see me? No, you don't. Here we go. There we go. Right, that wasn't so bad. Oh, it's just turning the... Need a wrench. It's a 1/2-inch wrench. Is that what I said? I thought it was 9/16. Whatever. I only brought a small selection of tools down to the basement. All my mechanics tools are in the garage. Does that fit? Seems so. Okay. So if we replace anything, it's likely going to be this pulley, which comes with a bearing, by the way. Let's keep that all together. Let's see what we got. So this belt, I think is fairly new. No, it's got some cracks in it, but not really. The printing is missing, so it can't be that new. But for all intents and purposes, it's a good belt, but I'm not going to put it back in. All right, this bearing is shot. It's not long. It's not loose, but you can hear the balls. Hear it? So this one we're going to replace. That bearing is starting to loosen up, so we're going to just going to replace it with a new one. And it's not that expensive. It's like $15 maybe. And we're not breaking the bank. So just going to put this bolt together. Just keep things together. And we'll put this plate aside. And I'm going to place an order for some parts. Some additional parts that I wasn't planning on. Gearbox, I'm going to figure out what kind of grease that takes, and then we'll just repack the whole thing. There is no there's no Zerk fitting on it to fill it, so I think you're supposed to just eject an entire tube of grease into the stupid thing. It looks like just regular old wheel bearing grease, but I'll confirm what that takes. This bearing we're going to leave alone. We're just going to clean this part up a little bit, and this will get painted. We'll clean it up. We'll paint it, prevent rust. This is getting replaced. Everything else we're going to clean, and we'll just put some silver spray paint on it, make it look good again. This thing will probably look good for about a couple of years, and then it'll start to get tired looking again, but it'll be functional. I've toyed with the idea of getting the entire deck powder coated. Yeah, I mean, in it for a penny, in it for a pound. But there's a lot of precision areas that we don't want powder coated because it'll affect, like for example, the detents for the wheel lift mechanisms. We don't want to get these packed with anything thicker than paint, so we're not going to do that. As a matter of fact, I think this deck is a replaceable service item. You can actually order this deck from Toro. Well, you could. I don't think you can get them anymore, but because these used to crack. And if you had one of these mowers and it was a perfectly good machine, but cracked deck, which by the way does happen, you could replace the whole deck. It's like, for example, you can buy a tractor trailer, like a complete truck, without an engine, transmission, or driveline, because you've got an old truck that's all beat to hell, but you might have had the engine replaced at some point, and it's still good. So you can just pop that old engine in a brand new truck, which is, again, it's called a glider kit. Kind of like the same thing with this. But anyway, or like you can replace the frame of a Toyota Tacoma. Ask every Toyota Tacoma owner about that and they'll tell you. Now this I'm going to repaint. I'm going to get some high heat paint. It's going to make it look good, clean it up a little bit. Or maybe I don't even need to do that. I might just be able to get away with a little bit of a cleaning with some steel wool. But I'm already thinking about the rebuild effort. I've got boxes of parts on order. We're going to make this thing look brand new again. We're going to make it run like new again. We're going to make this Toro great again. Yuck, even saying that makes me sick. Anyway, sorry. I so badly want to pull this thing. It will start. Everything to make it start for a few seconds is right here. We're not going to do that. Onward and upward, my friends. God, I'm stupid. He's inspecting my work just to see how things are going. Right? Is that why you're here? Okay. All right, buddy. Well, before we go away, I thought it'd be a smart idea to crack open that carburetor. While I have my wallet open, I want to crack open that carburetor bowl and see what horrors lie within. I know you're all dying to see this, and so am I. So let's do it. What size do we think it is? I'm going to say about 15 millimeter. I got a 17. I got to organize these poor sockets. Nope, it's going to be about a 14. Yeah, that's what it is. There's going to be a little bit of fuel in there, so hoorah. Let's see if I can prop you up. That's our bowl. Okay. There we go. Let's see what we got. Oops. All right. Let's see what's inside. Already, yeah, there's gas coming out of there already. Aw, son of a bitch. Let's let that drain out. I'm gonna throw that rag out in the yard. All right. Luckily, there's not much fuel in there. Oh my God. Oh my God, look at that shit. That's rust. All right, that's not the end of the world though. I mean, no, these carburetors are expensive. I have found out through the grapevine that parts are scarce, A, and B, they're expensive. So how's that float look? I just dislodged the... I'm going to take this jet out. Where's my screwdriver? Let me turn this light on. Let's take this jet out. Get the bowl out. There we go. So from what I've heard, I have a friend who does lawnmower repair still, and he tells me that the two-stroke versions of these mowers are quite sought after, more so than the fours. But the four-strokers are actually good little machines. Now, that little plastic thing is stuck. I can't get the bowl out, but it doesn't look damaged or anything. Everything looks pretty clean. Let's see if this jet looks like. Hold it up to the light. I can see a nice clean pinhole. And then there's this little spacer that goes on there. Holy hell. Well, the good news is all the crap settled to the bottom. Now, it doesn't look like rust, but look at it. It's like sand. Jesus. I'll have to put this back in. So it should have a... No, there's no springy piton on the end of this. I'm going to have to gingerly put this back together, but that bowl is gross. Ugh. So the plan is we're going to get some evapor rust, and we're going to... Yeah, this bowl was starting to rust out. And these are hard to get. No joke. They're impossible to get. So we're going to save this one. This is what happens when you have water in your fuel. That's what causes this. There's no other port of entry for. There's no other way rust is going to get in this system. It has a plastic fuel tank, plastic fuel lines, plastic everything. But when water gets into the fuel, especially back in the old days when we had ethanol free. Let me just clarify this. New Hampshire, you cannot buy fuel without ethanol. You haven't been able to get it up here in many years. I haven't seen it, honestly, since 2005. So, knowing that, this damage likely occurred many years ago. Just water got into a fuel pouring vessel. Somehow water got in there. And got in, and it was a long time ago. So this is what happens when you have water mixed in with your fuel. Ethanol fuel, normally, in my experience anyway, it doesn't typically do this unless there's a high concentration of water in it. And that's what happened here. And before ethanol was even a thing, water used to float, or it would sink to the bottom of the bowl, and it would just sit there. So it's likely that this damage probably started many, many years ago. But this bowl is totally salvageable. There's no reason to replace it, no reason to panic. We'll just take it out and we'll soak it in evapor rust. I don't have any now, but I'll have to get some, and it'll be totally fine. Now, the float doesn't appear to be damaged or cracked. Now, because it ran so well, I'm really not worried. I'm not even remotely worried about it. This is a Mikuni. I don't know what the part number is, but it's a Mikuni. So good old Japanese craftsmanship. I'll put this back together. I'll make a mental note to take this back apart again. I'll even save the gasket just in case. I'll slip it over here. We have a new gasket on the way, a new float bowl gasket. So stay tuned for that. And I think I got the, I think I even bought a jet for it. I'm not really sure. This needle valve is in good shape. No need to change that out. Everything looks clean otherwise. Look up inside there. It looks nice and shiny and clean. But we'll clean it on the bench when we get it apart. And give it what it needs. And that'll be that. That will be that. I'm going to order some bulk fuel line. I think that's about... I'll have to cut this in a clean spot and measure it, see what the diameter is accurately, and we'll replace that. Get some bulk hose. We'll get a new filter. Let's see if there's anything in the filter. It's going to be challenging, but if we hold it up to the light, yeah, there's some crud in there. No big deal. This is a cheap little thing. No difficulties in finding that. There's no print on the line, so I'm gonna have to measure out what the size is. But this fuel hose, not only is it cracking, but it's also soft, so it's just a matter of time before it starts leaking. I can't believe this thing ran as well as it did. This looks like shit. Honest to God, it ran perfect. It just wouldn't idle down. So there is a clogged jet. It's probably the low speed jet. We'll clean it up real good and it'll be fine. Oh, you can get the bowl, but you're gonna pay for it. We're gonna try to save the one we have.